So I wish you all very welcome to this webinar and to Lund. And just to mention first a few practicalities, we are recording this webinar and there is interpretation provided. So if you need interpretation, you click on the globe down below and you choose your language, Turkish or Bahasa. And as I said, there is a Q&A button as well, and you can use that at any time to ask questions to the panelists. And the webinar is planned to be 58 minutes. And I'm just making sure that recording is on, and it is. So let's start for real. And I will start by telling you a few words about what One Planet City Challenge is. And we are, as you know, globally cities account for a very considerable amount of population, even growing all the time now, 55%, but it's growing constantly of the share that lives in cities. They account for 70% of carbon emissions and 75% of energy use. So without the cities, we won't reach any climate goals at all. They are crucial. So one initiative that helps cities to reduce their carbon emissions is this initiative, One Planet City Challenge. And for the cities that join, they get public recognition. They get strategic guidance on how climate efforts can align to 1.5 centigrades, the Paris Agreement. And they also get support on citizen engagement. And last but not least, it is a friendly competition, friendly global competition. And the winner, as you all know, from 2022 of this global competition, one of the two winners is Lund. And I have now the great honor to let the mayor of Lund speak a few words to you about this beautiful town. Anders Almgren.
Thank you, and welcome all. My name is Anders Almgren, and I'm the mayor of the city of Lund. And as we introduced, we are one of the two winners in WWF's One Planet City Challenge for last year. I wish you all a very fruitful seminar, and I hope that you will find some inspiration for what we have done, and maybe you can follow in our tracks. And I couldn't be more happy if you even would achieve even more success than we did. You, as well as me, we all represent organizations and cities that have huge possibilities, but also an obligation to make the future of this planet a better place. And the challenge we look upon, they're much better faced if you face them together. The One Planet City Challenge has given us great input on what areas we actually should keep on working on that is successful, but also what we need to improve and develop even further. We wouldn't have gone this far if we, in our place, wouldn't have reached out to the world and also tried to find inspiration in other places. We all need to innovate, we need to scale up, but we also need to get inspired and copy others. The challenges we face are so vast, so we can't, every city can't develop everything by themselves, but we also have to get inspired and even copy each other. In Lund, as you will hear today, we focus a lot of those measures that actually have the largest impact in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's why we focus so much on sustainable transportation, fossil-free energy, that includes both electricity and district heating. And we try to stay focused on really truly effective mitigation actions to cover the most important sectors that in order to reduce the greenhouse emissions. But we also and I will stress that especially, we also work a lot with the cooperation with the participants and the citizens, and to include the companies and other organizations. And also, if they have the possibility to reach out to local or regional academia and get them on the wagon, so to speak, I think that your success, as well as ours, will be even better. And with those words, I will wish you a very fruitful seminar, and I hope that your virtual stay for about 1 hour in our city will be most joyful for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anders. So you are now all here, and I will give the floor to the next speaker. Without a climate strategy, you won't get very far. And I will now introduce Linda Birkedal, who is the responsible climate strategy in Lund. Linda, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I will talk a bit about our work, our recent work, but I've been here for 20 years, so I've been on the boat for a long time. So in Lund, we have, if you change the picture, we have a climate strategy, which is in our program for ecological sustainability. And I get the notion here that you don't hear me really, and then how to increase the volume.
Stängde du av? Linda, I'm not sure we can hear you really. You could come in to us and continue.
Okay, we give it a new try. Our climate strategy is in our program for ecological sustainability. And there we have 6 different areas that we work with, one of them climate and energy. And the overarching target of that is to, by 2030, be a climate neutral and fossil fuel free municipality that is adapted to a changing climate. And to get there, we have 7 targets that are measurable, that we could follow from year to year, the progress. And this we also report to anybody who's interested, because it's a main part of our policy is transparency. And this is a part of the municipality's annual report. Here we also report social sustainability. And one of the achievements so far is that our own operations are 99% plus fossil fuel free. And we're very proud of that. And we think it's important to show that it's possible to reach very far, because what we do as a municipality in Sweden is very diverse. We have a lot of buildings, strange machinery, and we collect garbage, we build streets, and so on. So this is really an achievement. If we look at the progress when it comes to the geographical area of Lund, we can see that our target for 2020 was met. We said we should cut the emissions by half between 1990 and 2020, and we did that. As you see, the bar for 2020 is lower than the target for 2020. What we did was mainly from the start to reduce emissions from electricity and heating, the purple part of the bars. And now our main challenge is the light yellow part at the bottom, which is the transport sector. And it's very clear that we have to increase our pace to reach the targets for the coming years. And to help us with this, we have the first local climate policy council in Sweden, which consists of researchers from Lund University and also the Swedish University for Agricultural Sciences. Every year they deliver a report to the City Council with recommendations for improvement. How could we get better? How could we really make the transition that will make us reach our goals? And one thing that they have been stressing is to become a climate neutral city by 2030, we cannot only focus on our own operations. We're almost there already when it comes to what we're really in charge of. This means we also have to work with others in the local society. That is business, citizens, academia, and so on. We also need to reach out besides the borders of Lund and work together with people from all around the world. And this is the only way we could go where we need to go. So I leave the floor.
Yeah, but for the moment, you can just stay here.
Okay.
And I remind you all, if you want to ask questions, you can click on the Q&A button. But I wonder, Linda, because Lund has been part of this One Planet City Challenge for several times, and you got feedback several times. And I wonder, what have this feedback changed your strategy in any way?
Yes, it has. Not this time, but the previous, we got feedback, not only Lund, but all cities in Sweden, that we're really in the front line. But when it comes to energy efficiency, we have had a lot to learn from other countries and cities in other countries. So this is something we have done now. We're stepping up when it comes to energy efficiency because we got this recommendation from the One Planet City Challenge feedback.
Thank you very much, Linda. That was very interesting to hear. And you also mentioned that traffic is transport was one of your main focuses now. And then I think it's very good and relevant that we now give the floor to Per Eneroth, who is a traffic strategist at the City Planning Office in Lund. The floor is yours, Per.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be able to tell you about the mobility work we're doing here, because one of our strategies is just to be the role model for other cities, how to show it's possible to make a change. And even though I have only a few minutes, I will start from the beginning. Do you want my presentation shown?
Yes, we can see your.
I need some assistance there. Okay. So this is the presentation on the screen. Okay, very good. Thank you. It started around 50 years ago when some decision makers made a change in the way of looking at traffic. It was quite early, and they decided to stop all the car traffic through the city. And this decision and this way of thinking is still a part of the way we think of traffic in Lund. So after many years of city center investigation, we made a strategy for sustainable transport system in the municipality. And at the same time, we started a mobility office, the first in Sweden, where we had around 10 people working on trying to change the behavior to a more sustainable way of transporting. So we have a long term of working with this strategy, and we have now the third version of this strategy. The strategy had developed from being a more traditional strategy when we focus on cars and bikes and public transports. And now instead we have a much broader perspective in our strategy, not including only things that we can do in the municipal or the city, the work of the city, but we have focused areas like a vibrant city, like the village development, regional commuting, developing Lund. Lund is still growing very fast, have been growing for a long time and are planning to grow for a long time in the future. And we also have a special focus in trying out new innovative way of doing things. Throughout the years, we have been doing a lot of activities. The last 10 years, more than 10 years, we have more than 150 activities. And actually, we may be not very specialized in none of these, but we have a broad spectrum of activities instead. We try to use all the system, and we even want other part of the organization to take actions, and they have been doing this the last years. The last 10 to 5 years, other part of the cities have started working with mobility questions and try to do it more sustainable, even though we don't start it up throughout the strategy organization. Some of the examples that are big important and are example of what we do. We have rebuilt the central street through the city center to make it more like a bicycle street. Even though cars and buses are allowed here, we try to prioritize the biking in this street. And usually there's a lot of biking, not on this picture, but it used to be. Like 10 or 15 years ago, we tried out the reversible bus lanes in the street. We still have it. It works finely. We haven't done very much investigation before. We just tried it and it worked. And now we can see it in many parts of the world. I also want to mention the climate policy council, because that's an important part for us to develop our work and our strategy. And of course, we have a new tramway in this small city. Our city is around 100 inhabitants, but we are the first city in Sweden making a new tramway. We have never had a tramway even before, and it takes the commuters from the central station up to the knowledge area. We have the hospital and the university and the ESS installation site. In this graph, you can see the population growth, and it has been growing for a long time, and it's they're planning to grow continuously. But by 1999, when we started the work with the strategy, the traffic has not increased after this. The bars is the traffic volume on the street, all the streets in the city of Lund. And we can now, the last year, we can see that the trend is going down. So maybe we can reach the goals that we have put up in the beginning. Beyond the good way. So today we have around 78% of sustainable travels in the city of Lund. So the city by itself, it's enough, but when it comes to commuting and other part of the travels, we still have a lot of tough work to do. So why could we succeed in this? Of course, the united politicians is very important. And even though we have had like 14 elections from the 1970s, and it had changed from the right to the left side of politicians. We have a strategy, a way of thinking of taking care of the transport system that they could sign no matter what kind of politicians we have. So we have a strategy that is kind of unpolitical. So we have to make it so global, so it doesn't matter even though you are a blue or a red side politician. So when we do the planning in the city planning office or the street and traffic department on all parts of the city, we prioritize the sustainable transport always. We always think of the biking first and then the buses. So that makes it a better way to make the city more sustainable, friendly kind of. Another thing that we do in Lund that is important, we combine the soft and hard activities in collaboration. So when we make something new, we try to change the behavior and make them use the transport system in the right way. And of course, we dare to try. We try things without many long investigations and discussions. We just try it in a pilot that works. And maybe sometimes it doesn't work, but then we change it back. So today we ask ourselves to stop the fossil use in transport, maybe this year. What brave decisions do we need to take today to make this change? We have to do new brave decisions, but we don't really know what. So maybe you can help us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Per. And there is actually a question for you from the Q&A, and it's from Lena Holmgren, who asked you, have you in Lund worked with companies on how they can support sustainable commuting? And is the municipality organization acting as a good role model?
Yes, we have many parts of our what we call the soft part. We have included the companies, and we have visited the boards at the different companies to make change not only from the employees, but from the decision makers in the companies too. So we have continuously worked with the companies in all areas. And since we try to, the municipal organization is a big organization, but we try to make for example, the fossil-free car pool is one example. Well, we try to do it, but it's hard for us because we are so big. We have many different kinds of parts, but we try to be a role model for that too.
Mm. Thank you very much, Per. And we are moving to another area of interest. And you remember Linda Birkedal said, now Lund is going to work with energy efficiency. Lund has, of course, already done some things on this area. And I will give the floor to Marcus Paulsson, who is energy strategist in Lund, to tell us about energy efficiency.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. My name is Marcus Paulsson, and I am energy strategist at the City of Lund. And as you could see from the previous presenters, we have had a very long time of growing population. Actually, there has been uninterrupted growth in population for more than 100 years. So that puts a lot of demand on the municipality to provide services, to provide new housing, roads, etc. So we tend to build a lot of new housing continuously, all the time. But most of the buildings that we live in are already built. So it's very important that we take care of them in a good way. And that's why I wanted to talk about city development and energy efficiency in the Lund'un district. And the Lund'un district is placed in the eastern part of Lund. And on this picture, you can see a part of it. and especially you should look at the low gray buildings with a black roof. Those buildings were built around 50 years ago, between 1969 and 1972, during a time of great expansion in Sweden. We call it the Million Program era. We were supposed to build 1 million homes over a 10-year period. And that was a huge task, since we at that time only had 4 million homes in the whole country. But these buildings are now getting older, so something they need to be modernized. And I should also say that in this case, these buildings are owned by LKF, which is the municipal housing company owned by the city. Yes. And I think you could change picture, please. Thank you. And here you can see that this picture was taken about 10 years ago. And as you can see, this area was not very attractive. It was worn down, and something needed to be done about this area. And you don't see much of the housing. You just see this road that divided the two parts of the area into two. So the road was more of a barrier than a connection, and people were driving very fast there and just passing. Yes, and there was people were feeling unsafe as well, and it was sort of a low-income areas. You should know that it was a standard area, or is a standard area, because in Sweden we don't have social housing. We tend to that in different ways. So it is ordinary people living, working there, and not social housing, although it's a low income area. And the picture for today, of course,
Per, eller Marcus, yeah, you're frozen. But now we can hear you, I think.
Changed a lot. All the measures that has been taken, and this is.
I'm sorry, Marcus, we can't hear you well, and the picture is
in the air. And then it's my video, and see if that helps in any way. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you better. Yeah.
Yes. So I get a little bit less traffic if I turn off the video. Yes, after the measures, there has happened a lot of things in this area, and it's thanks to a cooperation between the city and the housing company, LKF. There has been a densification with passive houses, that's the black and white houses you see. It's the first multi-story passive houses built in Lund. And this makes it a more diverse area in terms of different apartments that you can rent. And that makes it possible to make a sort of housing career within the area to better suit your way of life at this specific time. Yes, and there has also been built a new center with new shops and other services. There are now better parking, better roads, better bicycle paths, and the outdoor environment has been improved. And this is also something that the tenants in the area has been able to influence. And finally, there has also been some retrofitting and renovation of the old houses. Change picture, please. And that has been to put new energy efficiency measures in these old houses that are 50 years old. They are, the target was to get them as good as new buildings, although they are 50 years old. And also to have fossil-free district heating, meaning that we will have almost no carbon emissions from this area, although it's old buildings. And what we have done in this building is not a rocket science. It's fairly simple measures, new insulation, new windows, new sub-centrals for the district heating. But we have added some smart measures like smart steering with weather forecast so that the building can act as thermoses, as heat storages. And of course, we put PVs on the roof. That is like standard procedures today. And that gives us old buildings with energy efficiency standards of new buildings, but to a fraction of the cost what a new building costs. So I think that is some very good measures that has been taken and a very good outcome. Next picture, please. But we're not only looking at the energy. We think that sustainability has a broader implication. And as we saw, the district renewal has given us lower energy demand, but we have also get better diversification in the living conditions. We have better services. And we have made very careful selections in the measures in the apartments to keep the increase of the rent as low as possible. It is very common that in other areas in Sweden, when similar measures have been made, that the rent increased with 40–50%. But it was important for us that to keep the tenants in this area. So the rent was instead between 11 and 13%, which is very low comparable. And the biggest innovation of all, I think, was not any technical measures. It was the tenants' dialogue that was improved and elaborated a lot during this process, and something that the housing company now uses in all future areas that they're working with. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Marcus, for your presentation. And as you heard, you've done a lot of interesting things. And as you heard, this is also the area for the future. And I was wondering, what are the big steps you're now seeing in front of you that you're going to do in energy efficiency the next couple of years?
We have more areas from the same time that needs to be retrofitted. So it's actually replicating, I think, is the main part now. To do similar measures, or even, of course, some improvements. You learn all the time. But the way of thinking and the way to address these issues, I think we can replicate and maybe do some technical parts even better. That's what I think is for the future.
Thank you, Marcus. And we got more questions in the Q&A, so continue to ask questions there, but we will have a round at the end with the panelists getting the chance to answer. But we'll continue now with the last presenter, who will continue to speak about energy. And it is Ole Eliasson, who comes from Kraftringen. He's the Director of Strategy and Innovation and Sustainability at Kraftringen, which is a regional energy company for district heating and cooling. So to you, Ole.
Thank you, thank you. We also own and operate the power grid, and is one of the largest power grid operators in Sweden. Kraftringen is owned by the municipalities of Lund, Eslöv, Hörby, and Lomma. Next slide, please. So Kraftringen has been a large part of the CO2 reduction in the Lund municipality, and in our own operations, we have reduced our emission of greenhouse gases by approximately 90% since 2010. We set out a goal then to be fossil-free in our own production by 2020, and we reached that goal in 2018. The main driver of this has been replacement of old fossil-based plants and conversion to renewable biofuels, and commissioning of a new large cogeneration plant in 2014. As you can see, the remaining emissions in Lund municipality comes very much from transports and other sectors than the energy sector. So we are looking beyond our own operations now and see how we can support and make energy available for those sectors, for example, for the transport sector, where electrification is going to be a large part of the answer. Next slide, please. But that comes with some challenges. The EU's cooperation body for power grid operators, the ENTSO-E, has calculated the available capacity for electricity in comparison to the demand in the peak load hour, which in Sweden would be typically a really cold day in December or to February period. And as you can see, southern Sweden has the worst situation of the entire Europe. So we need to build more generation capacity of electricity, of course. But another part of the solution is to further reduce the electricity load from the heating sector using district heating. So we can use electricity for industry, transportation, research facilities that actually need the power, because heating can be done in other ways than using electricity. Next slide, please. And click, please. So in Lund, this is a schematic picture of our district heating network in Lund. The first main advantage of district heating is, of course, that it saves electricity for more sophisticated applications, as I said, where you really need the high exergy of electricity. It also enables recovery of excess heat from different heat sources, and waste heat resources in Europe are huge. And you can actually cover all of the heating needs in Europe if you would only recover a fraction of all the waste heat that's generated by industry and power generation. And Kraftringen's district heating network is actually connected all the way up to Helsingborg, some 50 kilometers away, where we sometimes get waste heat from chemical industries going up there. So you can use the district heating network to transport energy from where it's excess to where it's actually needed. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And the district heating network can also provide both heating and cooling with innovative technologies such as absorption chillers, which can actually be driven by the heat, which is a great thing, especially in the summer when we have more heat than we need in our network. District heating also facilitates very efficient generation of renewable dispatchable electricity, because we take care of the waste heat generated when we generate electricity. So it's a fantastic solution that really, from a systems perspective, helps balance the region and make sure that we use the energy for the right things. Next slide, please. So district heating is, of course, nothing new. It's been around for ages, but we are particularly proud of the cool district heating project that was concluded last year. It was a Horizon 2020 project funded in part by the European Union, where we have developed together with a lot of stakeholders a blueprint and concept that we are implementing and building for the district heating of the future. This is a lot. In Lund, we get a lot of excess heat from research facilities such as Max 4 and European Spallation Source, which you can see in this picture. And this is a vision picture of the Brunshög area district, which is being built out in Lund. The cool district heating system operates at a lower temperature. So it reduces the temperature from approximately 90 to 100 degrees, which is standard in conventional district heating, to down to 65 degrees. And this enables us to recover a lot more low-grade excess heat, which means that we can heat the entire district of Brunshög by not using any energy specifically for heating. So we just use the excess heat from the research facilities. It's also cheaper to build out than conventional district heating because you can use plastic pipes, which also gives it a much smaller environmental footprint in the production of the pipes. And this is really something that we believe should and could help other cities reach energy efficiency targets and making room for the climate transition that we need in other sectors. And also one thing that's interesting is that 65 degrees is approximately the temperature you get in as heat loss from hydrogen production. And right now the whole world is talking about hydrogen production. So with a great build out of hydrogen production, cool district heating should be a given. Next slide, please. So when talking about the cool district heating network that we're building, of course, we need to have also dispatchable production, because scientists don't always make research when you need heat, because they want to take vacation, for example, December and January, when we have the largest heat needs. So we still need to operate some production plants, of course, and that's still going to be the base of the whole district heating network. So we have, I just wanted to show you, we have one large solid biomass plant where we use waste wood from demolished buildings and recycled material. We use forestry residues, branches and tops from the forest, and also residues from the paper and pulp and timber industry. We also have a very large geothermal heat plant, which actually has some 700 meters deep bores down into the ground, where we collect water, which then can be transferred to where the heat can be transferred to the district heating network. It's a very cost-efficient system. It's based on locally sourced fuels and creates resilience and energy security for Sweden and Europe. Next slide, please. So the main takeaways from the energy system in Lund, I believe, is that a lot of heat is wasted today just because it can't be transported, and low temperature district heating can be a solution for other cities looking at how they can improve their efficiency. We are happy to share our experience in this regard. I think also it's important to consider that electrification is not the solution to all problems, because we will really struggle to have enough electricity going forward if we are going to use electricity for all applications. And we need to prioritize where to use what energy sources. And the last one is that Kraftingen's target that we set out in 2010 to become fossil free was very ambitious. And right now we see a lot of cities with very ambitious targets of becoming climate neutral by 2030, sorry. And that may sound like a dream or a very, very ambitious vision, but I believe that those kind of targets are absolutely necessary if we want to achieve something. So we need to work on those visions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ole. And I will actually now invite all the panelists to take part in the discussion. And you have got quite a lot of questions. So one of the first questions we have is from Tim, and he was curious that which cities has Lund been inspired by to improve? I think I could give a Linda try to answer, but then if the others of you would like to mention some things, you're welcome to. Linda might come in here actually to answer. Yeah.
Thanks. I step in here. I think there are several cities. Firstly, we look around in Sweden. We're a part of Klimatkommunerna, where cities with high climate ambitions meet and share good examples and so on. Close to us, there is Helsingborg, for example, very inspiring when it comes to public procurement. We also look a lot at German cities, Freiburg, when it comes to public transport and mobility, and we also imported from Osnabrück the solar cell map, where citizens can look at their roof and see if it's a good place to invest in photovoltaics.
Anyone other one want to mention one city that inspired you in your field? Otherwise, there are lots of other questions. So we got a remark by Budi, who mentioned that tax income from conventional fossil vehicles is an important income for some cities, and his city is about 50% of the city's budget. So maybe this is for Per. And I put it together with a question from Elina. What are the political arguments to support sustainable mobility? Are there political and economical incentives? And Per, you are here the questions. Political and economical incentives to work with sustainable mobility.
Actually, I would say that we from the city have not, of course, there's a lot of political decisions about investing in the transport system and all this, but we don't use, what do you say, carrots for people to change their behavior. We try to use more soft way of doing things. So, but we have the politicians supporting us with all the different kind of actions we do, but no special. Or did I?
Why do the politicians want support sustainable mobility?
Why?
Yeah.
We never asked that question here. No, I think in the discussion. Especially around the politicians, but in the whole organization, we always discuss how to make it more sustainable. So it's not a question if, it's always how to do it.
And do you actually earn some or lose money if fewer people drive car? Maybe you lose income tax? Not.
No, I don't think so.
No. Thank you. So to change the system is probably a recommendation. We have another question to Marcus from Tom van Leer, and he was curious, how did you keep the renovation costs so low in Lund'un compared to other cities?
That is actually a two-folded answer to that. We carefully chose what to renovate and not changing windows if the windows didn't need change. So only change what actually needs to be improved. But the other answer is that the increase of the rent is not based on the cost of the investment, because we don't have market rents. We have a price model for the rents. And that is based on certain values in the apartments. And LKF had the ambition to keep the rent low. So the standard of the apartments is one factor that sets the rents. So that was increased, and that meant that there was an increase of the rent. But many other building owners, they want to increase the rent so they can earn more money. And then they just changed like the kitchen or the flooring or something like that to get higher points, and thereby they can increase the rent. So it's not based on the cost of the renovation. It's based on your willingness to increase the rent and how much you want to work with keeping it low.
Thank you, Marcus. We have a question from Francisco Benito. To Linda, I think it would be the appropriate answer to this. Does the city make some estimations of the cost of all the actions to achieve the aim of neutrality in 2030? How you can manage in order to estimate how money should be invested from the municipality and how from other private sectors? Thank you for an interesting presentation, Linda.
Okay, that's a tricky one, but I start actually with the city operations. When the politicians decided that we should be fossil fuel free, we thought, okay, this will be expensive. What will it cost us? And then we looked at it and we found that, yes, we need to make some investments, but in the long run, becoming fossil fuel free would save us money, because changing when it's possible from riding a car to riding a bike is cheaper. Sharing cars between different departments of the municipality is cheaper than to let every department have their own car. And when we then look at the municipality, I mean the geographical area, we also see that there are some investments. But when it comes, example, for the things we heard from Kraftringen, they are business running, they have to deliver profits. They have to deliver a profit, and they do with those investments. So yes, there are investments, but we think that at least for the local companies and also the citizens, if they jump on this boat in the long run, it will create growth and also strengthen the economy of Lund. But then when it comes to the city, there are some costs, there are some investments. And then we have been looking a lot at ways of financing this transition, for example, with the green bonds.
Thank you, Linda. And we have another question from Syed to Per about transport. Could you please explain more in detail how you prioritize transport?
I don't know. It's more important for the bikes and the buses to get a short traveling time. So it's more important to get the transport system to prioritize those modes. So we always plan for them first. And after that, we see what do we have to do to get the cars to get there. They could get there, but they don't need the time to be very short. So that's another way of thinking. And also we accept you to walk a little bit further to your parking lot. Sometimes it's the same distance to the parking lot as to the bus station or the bus stop. And that's another way of thinking of this. So I think we come back to this both in mobility and in energy. It's a way of thinking in a sustainable way from the beginning, all the time.
Thank you, Per. And another question to Marcus is from Tim. Marcus noted the important aspect of dialogue and uptake by owners. How important is the motivation and action of regular citizens to achieve the targets?
I was talking about the dialogue with the tenants, actually. And it's very important that you have a good dialogue with the tenants, because they have to approve the renovation inside their apartments. Without their consent, nothing can be done. So we need to motivate them a lot to be able to do all the measures. Although they're tenants and not owning the apartment, they have to approve it. And I think, of course, we need a dialogue with the citizens in general perspective as well. As was shown in the beginning, there is only a limited amount of measures that the municipality can make on its own. We need the citizens. We need everybody working and acting and living in Lund to go in this direction. So it's crucial that we have a dialogue.
Thank you, Marcus. We have another question to whom of you wants to answer. Is there a current implementation sharing of your experiences taking place in the Horizon Europe program, Net Zero Cities? in rental and model innovation. Maybe Linda would like to answer this, or someone of you who knows.
We are participating in the Net Zero City networks, yes. And there are sharing. We have webinars and sharing sessions within that network. And we're trying the best to show what we're doing and trying to learn from others as well.
Thank you. New questions from Ridvanula. Are there any local regulations in the city of Lund issued to support the achievement? Could you share some link of regulation so we can learn, because we're involved in the city government program on climate change association? There could maybe be links shared in the Q&As for this to answer this, unless anyone would like to comment.
Linda, I think.
Linda, are you there? Ta-da!
Hello. Yes, I think one example is how we regulate parking, and that maybe Per is better to answer really, but the cost, I mean, when it comes to Lund, land is scarce. We need it for a lot of things, building homes, transportation, companies, etc., recreation. And then it's important that it's costs to occupy space by a car. And this is one regulation that we have in our hands to decide how much does it cost to park in the city center. And this also encourages people to transport themselves to the city center by bike or public transport, for example. Another regulation is the environmental zone in the center of the city, where the dirtiest heavy vehicles are not allowed.
Thank you, Linda. And we are getting into the end of this webinar, and I thank all the panelists for a very good presentations, and Lund is continuing to inspire us. Before I leave you all to choose mode of transport to go to what you need to be next, I want to thank you all for participating and for participating actively with your questions. This webinar is the first webinar in a series of WWF webinars regarding One Planet City Challenge, with a new season of One Planet City Challenge starting up now. So we are also welcoming all cities around the world, new cities and old cities, to join One Planet City Challenge. And you can see in the our web page, you can find more information, and I wish you all a very good day. Thank you for all the applause and hearts. I give them forward to the presenters of this organizing, and thank Erika Frimansson, who set up this from the city of Lund. So have a really good day, all of you, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.